Bryson DeChambeau, 269. Bryson, what was the difference between yesterday and today?
I think I caught a couple more breaks today. I drove it pretty well for the most part, and I capitalized in certain areas. Made a great eagle on 18, great shot on 16, and then when I missed it, I was able to get up and down a few more times than yesterday. So that's what it was. Wasn't anything crazy. Still just I feel like I got my C plus game with my irons, and my driving is like B, putting is A, putting really well. But I feel like if I can clean up my iron play and get a little more comfortable with the irons and the driver, I'll have a good chance for this weekend.
Bryson, you've done this before. What did you find last night in the darkness?
Yeah, I didn't find anything. I found something this morning. So I walked off pretty frustrated yesterday, and it's one of those things that I was sleeping and came to me in the middle of the night. I woke up and I was like, I'm gonna try this, and I went out, and my intuition's pretty good, and so I went out and tried it, and it worked. Just keeping the right wrist bent for a lot longer through impact, stabilizing the face. Again, for me, it's all about stabilizing the face, and so I was able to find that, and it worked out there for the most part. Irons, it didn't work, but the driver, it worked.
You talked in the past about trying to minimize the variables. That's what this is all about.
Yeah.
Are there more variables in a major championship?
Oh, a bunch of variables. I mean, you got to take into account you can't miss fairways like normal, and if you do miss them pretty big, because usually the gallery will be walking down, trampling it down. So that's what I did on 9, but it's just with my speed, I'm going to miss it pretty far offline. But major championships are definitely difficult, especially with Poana. That brings up a big difficulty factor, because you're not going to make every putt you look at. Even if you hit it perfect with a perfect read, it may just bounce and bump offline. And you got to be okay with that. So I think staying patient is one of the most difficult things in a major championship. That's one of the most difficult variables.
Bryson, when a thought comes to you in the middle of the night, what's the process? Do you write it down, or you just keep it in your mind? What?
I remember it for the most part.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good. It's just one simple thought. It's usually not a complex series of things. It's more just my intuition telling me, okay, there's something weird here. What's going on? And I couldn't figure it out for an hour and a half last night, and going back and just sitting down, eating dinner, and just thinking about it. I literally won't talk to anybody for like an hour, just thinking. And then sure enough, I went to bed, and I found a little something that worked for my driver. Didn't work for my irons, so gonna hopefully fix that this afternoon.
Do you remember what time it was? Do you look at the clock?
No, I don't. It's just you kind of wake up in a daze and you're like, okay, I'm gonna try that and go back to sleep, and I just feel comfortable. It's all about making myself feel comfortable, and if I can do that, I feel like I've never won with my A game in all areas. I've won with certain parts of my game, and being in the A game area. But for the most part, my whole game hasn't been that way, and I want to see the day that I can have everything flowing on all cylinders.
If I could just ask something unrelated, you were just standing over to the side with Richard over there. Can you speak to,
Yeah.
to what 48 years old, 477 tournaments without a win, gets here because of that win? Could you just speak to maybe the inspiration of that?
Well, it's incredibly inspiring. I mean, you look at what Phil did, right? Winning a major, it gives him hope. And it also gives me hope to play for a long, long time. And I think that's really inspirational. And I love that about the game, that anybody, any age group can play this great game and compete and contend. If you've got the skill set to get the ball in the hole in the quickest amount of shots, least amount of shots, you can be up there with the young guns. And it has trended more towards a younger generation, but it's awesome to see a little resurgence of people of that age competing in major championships. That's great.
Bryson, I was just going to ask you, what time did you eventually leave last night?
It was like 9:15, 9:20, something like that.
And did you just decide that you weren't going to be able to figure it out on the road?
Yeah, I couldn't see very well, and obviously being very dark, they shut the lights off, which is fine. I've hit golf balls in the dark plenty of times, but at a certain point, I was getting so frustrated with myself. I'm just like, I gotta take some time and sit back and try and understand and listen to my intuition, because I was just trying a bunch of different things, and I just got fed up with it, and I just said, let's go back, sit back, and just think of what has got you here and what makes you feel comfortable.
Yeah. So Bryson, I was going to ask the question.
Yeah,
I guess
you're good.
I'll switch it up a little bit.
You're
But is the whole goal for you? I mean, everybody talks about it's this mad scientist, kind of like complicated. Is it really not that? Is it trying to simplify everything? It's just like, I want to hit it far, short shots to the green and hopefully give myself putts to make.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said complexity creates simplicity in the end. So complexity initially creates simplicity in the end. If you try and make it simple in the beginning, there's a lot of variables you aren't trying to understand, and it can get pretty messy down the road if you try and make it too simple in the beginning. So for me, you know, they say the mad scientist, and it's more about trying to understand as many variables beforehand, and then when I go out, you know, I'm painting a picture. I'm trying to be an artist and sense and feel and get a good gauge of like the wind and what's going on. And I try and mold the science a little bit with it, but it is mainly an art for me. And I think a part of that art is utilizing the science, which is cool.
And when you're, every time you're getting down for a little short putt,
Yeah.
kind of closing your eye, or you kind of visualize that what you're doing? What are you doing there?
So I'm closing one eye
Yeah.
and like lining it up like the sight
Yeah.
on something like a laser or something like that. I really don't visualize it too much. The only time I visualize is literally when I'm over the putt. I just kind of see the whole golf ball tracking and tracing right into the hole. And that's what's worked really well for me over the course of my years, especially the past 3 years or 4 years with my arm lock. It's just worked really well.
Last question right here.
Just back to the range in the dark,
Yeah.
practice range in the dark. What can you, when it was as dark as we saw you last night out
Yeah.
there, can you find stuff when it's that dark? Can you feel it? Is it more?
Yeah.
A matter of,
Sometimes, you know, when I was younger, I would close my eyes and I would just hit golf balls in the dark and just, you know, obviously with my eyes closed, trying to feel and sense my body, get a better perception of what's going on with my body biomechanically. And there would be times where I would be like, oh, that feels way more consistent, or vice versa. So I've gotten quite used to closing my eyes or being in the dark, trying to go deep into my body and in my nervous system and try and get more comfortable
and you
with
don't
my golf
need-
swing.
So you don't need the feedback of seeing where the ball went.
I've
or
got
landed.
radar, I've got flight scope, so that I can see in the dark. So I do need that feedback.
Yeah.
So normally it's light out and I'm closing my eyes doing it.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it gives me a really good, you know, perceptual understanding of like what's going on. Even though I may not figure it out, I can sense my body parts a lot better.
Thanks, Bryson.
Yeah. Thank you.